Welcome, everyone, to the April 21st meeting. We're going to have two executive sessions, one for 30 minutes, one for 15 minutes. That'll take us up to the regular meeting starting at 5:45. But first, I look for a motion to recess into the first executive session.
Motion to approve a motion to recess into executive session for approximately 30 minutes to discuss privileged legal communications from the city's attorneys regarding pending litigation pursuant to KSA 754319B2. The justification for the executive session is to keep attorney-client privilege matters confidential at this time. The City Commission will resume its regular meeting in the City Commission room at 5:31 after the executive session is concluded.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Courtney, a second by Commissioner Sellers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll be back in 30 minutes. Okay, we're coming back from our first executive session, and we have nothing to report. For those here, we have one more 15-minute executive session. We'll be back at 5:45, and we'll start the meeting then, including our proclamations. So, but I look for a motion on our second executive session.
Motion to recess into executive session for approximately 15 minutes pursuant to the non-elected personnel matter exception, KSA 754319B1, to discuss non-elected personnel. The justification of the executive session is to keep non-elected personnel matters confidential at this time. The City Commission will resume its regular meeting in the City Commission room at 5:46 after the executive session is concluded.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Courtney, a second by Commissioner Pulliam. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 4-0. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, we are back from our second executive session. I have nothing to report. We'll have Sherry say a few things about the meeting, then we'll move into the regular agenda.
Good evening, everyone. If you would please silence your cell phones. The primary format for accessing this meeting is in person at City Hall. Virtual access cannot be guaranteed due to potential technology issues. When the mayor calls for public comment, please approach the podium to indicate you wish to speak. Virtual participants should use the raise hand function. When prompted, select Join As. There will be a brief delay as your role changes. Once your name is called, please unmute, turn on your camera, and state your name and zip code before speaking. All comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The city reserves the right to turn videos off or mute participants. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And next on the agenda is the approve the agenda. The city commission reserves the right to amend, supplement, reorder the agenda during the meeting. So a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Devos, second by Commissioner Sellers. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Mayor, I apologize, but I didn't catch, and maybe you did it. Did you say you had anything to report after the?
Yeah, no, I said we had nothing to report.
Okay.
That brings us to the recognitions and proclamations, and I'm very excited that our first proclamation is to proclaim April 25th, 2026 as Pastor Leo Barbee Jr. Day. Pastor Leo and I have crossed paths many times over the years in many different ways. And I'm happy to read the proclamation, but I don't know if anyone wants to say anything first. Stephen, you want to say anything, or? Yes. Pastor Leo?
Come on up, Dad. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the city of Lawrence. We got one on you. We to the mayor and city council. It's a great honor that I could stand next to my father, and he's touched many lives down through the years. His impact and his lessons and his quietness and his faithfulness. But Dad, to the city of Lawrence and the proclamation, April 25th, 2026. Pastor Leo Barbee's Day. So, Dad, I love you, and whatever you want to share, don't preach.
To the mayor and to the city commissioners, it is a blessing to be a part of this community, to be here this year. 50 years we've been in Lawrence, Kansas. Sought to try to be an asset and not a liability. Been controversial at times, only because we want to stand for what's right and righteousness. And I want to thank you all for the proclamation. I began to suspect they kept it a secret from me. My wife, I was coming to help my wife. but I want you to know I appreciate this so much. Love Lawrence. We want to be here till God calls us home. So thank you so very much, and thank my congregation, part of the congregation, who kept this from me. I did not know this. Thank you so much.
Well, absolutely, and let me read the proclamation, and it's a great one. Whereas Pastor Leo Barbee Jr. has demonstrated extraordinary leadership, unwavering faith, and a lifelong commitment to serving others through his role as pastor of Victory Bible Church in Lawrence, Kansas. And whereas through his dynamic preaching, compassionate care, and servant leadership, Pastor Barbee has strengthened families, restored hope, and inspired individuals to live lives of purpose, integrity, and faith. And whereas Pastor Barbee's influence extends beyond the local congregation into the broader community, where he has faithfully served as a chaplain to the University of Kansas football and basketball programs, providing spiritual guidance, mentorship, and encouragement to student athletes. And whereas the University of Kansas brings together young men from across the nation and around the world, and Pastor Barbee's presence has served as a steady source of wisdom, spiritual grounding, and personal development for athletes navigating the pressures of academics, athletics, and life. And whereas through his mentorship, prayer, and personal investment, Pastor Barbee has helped shape leaders of character, positively impacting not only individual lives, but also families, communities, and future generations. And whereas it is fitting and proper that the City of Lawrence publicly recognize individuals whose lives and service elevate the well-being of others and bring honor to the community. Now therefore I, Brad Finkeldine, Mayor of the City of Lawrence, do hereby proclaim April 25th, 2026 as Pastor Leo Barbee Jr. Day in the City of Lawrence, and encourage all residents to recognize and celebrate Pastor Barbee's outstanding contributions and be inspired by his example, leadership, compassion, and service. Thank you.
His voice as long as that.
I know.
I was her pastor when she was in college here. Thank you so much.
Well deserved, well deserved. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have two more proclamations, and you guys can, we'll let you exit here before we start, just to,
Take your time.
oh, take your time. Just. Okay. Well, I'll. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, Stephen. Okay, our second proclamation is proclaim the week of April 20th, 24th, 2026 as Tree City USA Week, and Friday, April 24th as Arbor Day. I believe Levi is here to say a few words.
Yeah, I'm Levi Parkin. I'm the Horticulture, Forestry, and Cemeteries Manager for the city. And I just want to thank you for your time this evening to share in the joy and celebration of our community, our 48-year commitment as a Tree City USA, and our ongoing investment in our urban forest. Trees are valuable to our community, to the people that enjoy their relief in the hot summer sun, the wildlife that call them home and the dinner table. They divert water from our stormwater infrastructure. They shade and prolong the life of our streets. They improve air quality and sequester carbon from our atmosphere. Trees have shown to provide great benefits to mental health and to lower stress. They hold historical significance, bearing witness to both the good and the bad of our existence. By continuing to invest in trees, our city shows that we value all of these benefits. That investment in the past year resulted in the planting of 1,078 trees, the pruning of 1,144 trees, and the removal of 728 trees. My hope is that we continue this commitment to invest in this vital resource for the sake of our community and the generations to come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for those words and your work. Yes. I'll read the proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the year 2026 marks the 154th anniversary of this holiday called Arbor Day, and was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas Lawrence, Kansas has been recognized in its 48th year as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Foundation and the Kansas Forest Service, and desires to continue its tree planting ways. Now therefore, I, Brad Finkeldine, Mayor of the City of Lawrence, do hereby proclaim the week of April 20th through the 24th, 2026 as Tree City USA Week, and Friday, April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day, and urge all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands, to support our city's community forestry program, and to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of present and future generations. Thank you. And thank you, Levi, and your entire team. Okay, and then the last proclamation is to proclaim the month of April 2026 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and I think Christine Gentry is presenting this.
Yes, good evening, and thank you, Mayor and City Commission, for the honor and the recognition. We sit in really great company with the trees and with the community. We're also happy to celebrate 54 years in sexual violence assault awareness in our community's daycare center. Has been around for a little while. So we are here and very excited for this month because we are making awareness in action. You spoke about the trees. I don't know if you noticed that this month we painted the town teal. We gave an awareness month on the trees, which also included a QR code that lets people know why and what this awareness month means. This Saturday, we invite you to take back the night at South Park, where we will honor the survivors in a vigil and a speak out session that will concentrate on healing and focus on survivors being able to speak out and take back the night. And throughout this month, we've hosted a few opportunities. Maybe you've seen that the town has helped to support this awareness by some trivia nights at Rick's Place, some great places in Empire Pool Hall, and then we also have continuing throughout this month an opportunity for art to express survivors with our Art for Healing campaign. That's an online auction that's going to be focusing and showcasing on final Fridays at the Espresso Cafe, a really great niche on Mass Street. But we must match this excitement with hard, sobering truth. Sexual violence is not a discrete issue or a distant problem. It is here. In Kansas, there were 977 rapes that were reported in year 2024. And if you do the math, that means one rape was reported every 9 hours in 2024. Even more heartbreaking, the fact that children are too often the victims. In 2024, children and teens aged 0 to 19 accounted for nearly half of all reported rapes in the state of Kansas. That's a disheartening number, and though we don't have 2025 and 2026 stats yet, we know that that increases because the opportunity for reporting is lessened, and the opportunity for a survivor to have any kind of healing is also a barrier to that healing. So we're here to talk to you today, talk to the community today about an issue that is not often the topic of discussion, but that if and when we have more discussions on this issue, we hope to normalize the conversations that can center healing in our community and talk about the hard truths that surround this issue. I stand before you to accept the proclamation as a commitment to challenge these statistics that we've just shared with you, and a promise to move awareness into action from silence to support. We thank the city and the council and the commission and the community for standing with us this April. We hope this April marks a month of real change. Let's make our city a place where hope and community can stand in truth and justice and fight for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for all you're doing and all the activities. And I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas, as we recognize Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we acknowledge both the progress made and the continued work ahead, and we renew our commitment to prevention, healing, and action. And whereas sexual violence remains a serious and pervasive issue that impacts far too many individuals across all communities, affecting people of all genders, ages, and backgrounds. And whereas most individuals who experience sexual violence are harmed by someone they know, underscoring the need for increased awareness, education, and prevention within our communities and relationships. And whereas certain populations, including communities of color, indigenous communities, individuals with disabilities, and transgender individuals, experience disproportionate rates of sexual violence, highlighting the importance of culturally responsive and inclusive prevention and support efforts. And whereas many survivors face significant barriers to reporting and accessing justice, and too often are left without support, accountability, and healing resources that they deserve. And whereas human trafficking and sexual exploitation continue to pose serious threats to vulnerable populations, particularly during times of increased economic activity and large-scale events, requiring proactive community awareness and coordinated prevention efforts. And whereas sexual violence is preventable, and communities play a critical role in fostering a culture of safety, respect, consent, and accountability through education, awareness, and collective action. Now therefore, I, Brad Finkeldine, Mayor of the City of Lawrence, do hereby proclaim April 2026 to be Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Lawrence, and call upon all community members, leaders, and visitors to support survivors, promote prevention, and remain vigilant in protecting the safety and dignity of all people in our community. Thank you so much. That brings us now to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered under one motion and approved by one motion. Members of the governing body may remove items for separate discussion if desired. Members of the public may remove items identified as quasi-judicial for separate discussion if desired. Members of the public will be limited to 3 minutes for comments. Any member of the commission like to pull any items off consent?
No, sir.
Okay. And I don't think there's any quasi-judicial, so I will look for a motion.
Motion to pass the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion by Vice Mayor Courtney, a second by Commissioner Dever. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. That brings us to our regular agenda. First on our regular agenda is the 2026 Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnerships Program public hearing. Looks like Danny is going to kick us off with Bradley Hill.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. My name is Danny Walters, and I am with the Planning and Development Services Department. And it is our pleasure to bring you this evening the 2026 Annual Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnerships Program, and to hold a public hearing for this item. With our HUD grant, we are required to operate under a 5-year consolidated plan, and each year under that plan, we are to bring back annual reports to you for what we're going to do. Of the 3 reports that we are required to do, the consolidated plan says we might do this over 5 years. And then each year, the action plan says this is what we're going to do. And then we have a final report that says this is what we did. So you're with the action plan item this evening. It is not my intention to steal any thunder from Brad's presentation coming up, but just a quick overview that this year is the 4th year of our current 5-year consolidated plan. So we'll have 1 more year to come back with something similar to this, and then we're going to start on that process of what does that 5-year plan look like, how have things changed, what do we need to move in, move out of that plan. The consolidated plan is purposely aligned with the city's strategic plan and a place for everyone, and a array of other community plans. Our intention was not to create a brand new, this is what we want to do, but to pull together what the community has already expressed that they have interest in. We are working with real numbers for once. Usually when we come to you with the public hearing, we are just working with an estimate, but we actually have real numbers. We got them last week, I think.
Last week?
Yeah, last week. So the numbers that you see tonight will be the same numbers that you see when this comes back to you for final approval. And to try to answer any questions before they might come, we have no insight what next year looks like for this, so we're just very happy to be here with this year. So, and then before I turn it over to Brad, I just want to say a huge thank you to those that helped put this plan together. This is an annual event for us, but there's a lot that goes into getting this plan in front of you. So Brad Carr and Caitlin Doler are the primary folks in PDS that work with these grants, and they've been really instrumental in getting us here to this point this evening. Big thank you to a lot of city departments we're working with, agencies around town that we're working with. And then also we just want to thank Jeff Crick for his leadership. It's been a challenging couple of years, not really knowing if we're going to be in front of you or not. So his leadership has been really critical to helping us through all of this. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brad for the presentation. You do have the whole grant staff here, so if there's any questions, we're happy to help out. So thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Brad?
If I can find the presentation here.
As he's getting this ready, I'll say one of the few things as mayor actually happens is, for some reason, they actually send the mayor the award for CDBG and HUD. And I get the email just randomly one day. I'm like, Danny, did you get this too? And she's like, no, we didn't get it. I've been waiting for that. So when you're mayor, don't delete it thinking someone else has seen it too. Yeah, they actually sent it to me. So anyway, go ahead.
Sure. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'm Brad Carr, Community Development Analyst. And as Danny said, we're here for the 2026 CDBG and Home Annual Action Plan public hearing. Attached to the agenda item, there are a couple of documents of note. First, here's a memo kind of on the background and the allocation process and how we got to this point. There's also a one-page investment summary, and you can kind of think of that as a sources and uses, lists the funds that we're going to get and what we're proposing to use those on. And then there's the actual annual action plan itself, which is about a 75-page document, and that's what we're required to submit to HUD. So as we are here tonight, we're looking for public input on that annual action plan and on that investment summary, how we're summarizing what we're proposing to use the funds for 2026. Our grant year starts August 1st of 2026. It would run to July 31st of 2027. First, we'll start with a couple of those acronyms that HUD likes to use. So the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG as it's known. As you can see here, there's kind of a description. It's a formula grant that's provided from HUD to cities, counties, states, consortia, and it's primarily for use to benefit low and moderate income persons. The other grant that we work with, the Home Investment Partnerships Program, which is just known as HOME, also is a formula grant provided to state and local governments, and that's primarily used for affordable housing for low-income families. So as Danny talked about, we are working under a 2023 to 2027 consolidated plan. That 5-year plan, as she stated, kind of sets out the framework of things that we would like to do in those 5 years. And then each year, we have to do the annual action plan, which is what we're here for this evening. And so the annual action plan, there's different sections in that actual plan that cover the expected resources that we have, what our annual goals and objectives are, the actual projects that we'll do to address those goals. There's also individual narrative sections on affordable housing, public housing, homeless and special needs activities, and also barriers that we're seeing to affordable housing in our community. As we get to that expected resources, as Danny said, we are working with actual numbers. And so our base CDBG grant that we will receive is $724,614. One item to note is that's about 3.7% less than what we received last year. We're estimating that we'll get program income in the CDBG program of around $40,000, so total work worth $764,614. On the home side, that base home grant is $427,115.91. That one, unfortunately, is about 9.5% less than what we received last year. Program income under the home program is a little over $9,900. So we're working with $437,017.18. It kind of describes in the narrative here that even though the federal allocation was the same this year as last year, there's formula changes and the number of grantees nationwide that receive that fluctuates those up and down. If we get to the home recommendations, for the administration, which is done by our department, that is regulatory capped at 10% of the base grant amount. So that would be $42,711.59. We had 3 applicants for funding for the remaining balance of that program. Those applications were reviewed and scored by the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, and these are their recommendations. They recommended that the Lawrence Douglas County Housing Authority receive around $247,000 for their tenant-based rental assistance program. That's a voucher program up to 24 months along with case management. They also recommended that tenants to homeowners for their what's termed as a CHODO set-aside project funds, which is another HUD acronym, Community Housing Development Organization. That one specifically, we're required to give at least 15% of the base grant to local CHODOs. They applied for more, and the Affordable Housing Advisory Board did award them a little more than that 15%. They also applied for CHODO operating funds, which is statutorily capped at 5% of the base grant. So the maximum they could receive at that is that $21,355.80. And so that sums up to the total amount of the home funds that we're recommending to allocate. And we'll move on to CDBG. There's several different classifications of the CDBG grant. We'll start with the city projects, and so that would once again cover that administration of the grant. CDBG is capped at a maximum of 20% of the base grant. So you can see that amount here. We do have homeowner repair programs that we run out of our office, and so there's an allocation of that for a little over $276,000. And then the remaining is set aside for just other city department projects. And so that could be Parks and Rec, that could be MSO, to do projects in low and moderate income neighborhoods. And those obviously have to be pending on whether we can certify them as an eligible project and that they can pass an environmental review. The next pot of money is what's termed as public services, and that is capped at a maximum of 15% that a local government can assign for those public services, which would set a maximum of $108,692. We did receive 3 applications for funding under that category, and you can see a group of city staff members reviewed those applications and scored them, and you can see their recommendations for those. The Douglas County Housing Stabilization Collaborative for their emergency rent and utility assistance program. The Lawrence Community Shelter for stabilization services for the shelter guests. And those 2 were the balance. We did receive 1/3 application, but as the application was submitted, it was not eligible under CDBG requirements. We did meet with the applicant to explain that to them and kind of talk through maybe future years what they would need to do to bring that into eligibility. And the next category then, that leaves a remainder of $127,750. And we put that out for competitive applications in what we kind of just term as non-public service programs. And those are kind of your capital asset programs. We received 4 applications for that pot of money, totaling a little over $340,000 in requests. Once again, we only had around $127,000 to award. The city staff scored and recommended these allocations to Good Life Innovations for a group home rehabilitation program, to Lawrence Habitat for Humanity for a homeowner critical repair program, women's restroom rehabilitation at the Lawrence Community Shelter, and we did receive a 4th application that city staff discussed, and we also met with the applicant. There's some potential challenges in that application concerning how we would prove to HUD that we're meeting the national objective of serving low and moderate income individuals, and there's also some environmental review concerns on that vacant lot. And so we once again met with that applicant and kind of discussed through some possible other grants that might better align with that type of a project. The state has environmental, I can't remember what the name of it is now, hazard mitigation grant, I think is what it is. And it's specifically for lots that have the floodway on them, which this lot does. And so these are the recommendations for that $127,750 that was the remaining amount. Our timeline for this, April 3rd, a notice of public hearing was published in the Lawrence Journal World. We're required by HUD still to run it in the local paper. We released the draft of that annual action plan and that one-page investment summary on April 16th to the public. We're here tonight for this public hearing where we invite the public to speak on this plan and these recommendations. And as today kicks off a 30-day HUD-required public comment period. So if they're not here to be able to speak tonight, they can provide written public comment for the next 30 days until May 21st. We'll be back here for your final decision on June 2nd. And at that time, we will also present in your packet any public comment that we did receive. And then our deadline to submit all this to HUD is June 15th. And I believe that's it. Danny and I are here, and we can answer any questions that you have, and otherwise we'd like to hear from the public.
Thank you so much. Any questions before we open it up?
I'm sorry, I do, and it should be real quick, but we talk about the home improvement, home or repair programs. How do we're recommending 276, how do we disperse that?
So it is an application process, and we have two programs. There's what's called a comprehensive rehabilitation program, and then there's just an emergency program. Okay. So people can contact us at any time for that emergency program as long as we have available funding. And those are usually your HVAC, water heaters, roof damage, sometimes a collapsed sewer.
Sure.
That comprehensive program, we put together more of a bid packet and put it out for contractors to bid on to do a more holistic around the entire house, everything that's listed. And that has a lot higher maximum that we're willing to spend per program. I believe Caitlin would know for sure what the minimums or the maximums are on each of those individual programs, but it's dramatically more on that comprehensive program. And then that also covers staff time to do the environmental reviews for each of the houses that need, and then the bid packet processing, the walking through with the contractors and all that. So all that together is what sums up that program.
And about how many applicants do we serve a year? And I'm fine with real approximate.
So we opened up the application period last year as soon as we got the funding from HUD. And I think we instantly received over 40 applications. Obviously, we don't have the funding for that. I think to date, since September or October, we've completed 5 or 6 of the emergency, and we have 3, I believe, that are coming out for bid for that comprehensive. Well, maybe not the comprehensive, but a lot of them, 2 of them I know for sure have foundation issues that it's going to take a lot more money than is set aside in that emergency program. So we estimate in the plan that we would help anywhere from, I think, 9 to 13 homes a year.
Okay, thank you. That's perfect.
And then just a couple questions on the annual goals, like the AP20 and stuff like that. If people in the community want to know like how many people are being helped, is that goal outcome when it says like 20 households or 500, like 5,300 people? Is that the best way to understand how this money is helping direct people?
Yeah, so those are our projections at this point, that this is how we're going to spend and this is what we're going to help. After the end of the grant year, we're required to submit a report to HUD, which is another acronym. It's called a CAPER, Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. And that sums up exactly how much we did spend and the exact number and demographics of the people that we served. That public hearing is held in the fall of every year. And so our last one was in October of 25. It reported on our 24 grant year, how we spent, what the results were. At that public hearing, we also invite agencies and individuals to come and not only to review those goals and how we did with us, but also project forward on what they would like to see at this stage in the project.
Gotcha. And then just one other question. The other city projects, that 107, when it's infrastructure projects, potentially MSO, Parks and Rec, could you give examples of when that's been used in the past?
I've been compiling actually for another project about a 9 or 10 year history, and it's all gone to MSO those last. So over the last 9 years, so 2017 to 2025, we're still in our 2025 grant year for us. So back to 2017, we've done 9 MSO projects for a little over $2.5 million. And those encompassed street rehabilitations, ADA, sidewalk and curb cuts, sidewalk replacements. There's also some neighborhood programs of speed markings in Brook Creek on the asphalt. And way back in 2017 and 2018, we were still doing speed humps at that time, and several of those occurred in North Lawrence.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Brad. We will open this up, the official public hearing on the 2026 Annual Action Plan and the Home Investment Partnership Program. Any public comment at this time? Also know you have 30 days to submit written public comment. Any public comment? Seeing none, how about online?
Stephen Watts.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak. You know, hopefully we can understand that there's just not enough money to go around. That's number one. But more importantly, the Community Development Block Grant Program is one of the most, how do you say this, best programs that we have in town in terms of being able to provide monies to people in need. The sad reality has that our town has adopted the Donnie Trump style of business in that we divert most of the monies to, quote, not-for-profit, unquote, operations, who once upon a time actually provided service. But now, most of the money that they receive from us are eaten up in administrative fees to pay salaries to individuals. An aspect of the Community Development Block Grant Program is that it is available to individuals who are at or below 80% of the area median income. And it's my suggestion that we begin to be able to allow individual citizens to apply for grants so that they can repair their homes. And an advantage of this addition, and I mean it can just be a teeny tiny portion of the amount of monies that's available so that you can see that people are not trying to cheat, that they be able to apply for these monies to improve their homes, owner-occupied dwellings, and these programs, or giving it to the individual homeowners, is not subject to administrative fees, which are eaten up. Oh, look, I see that fucking town, excuse me, trying to be best boy civil. I see that clock up there telling me, shut up. Anyway, the Community Development Block Grant Program is great, and it has always been great. Jeff Crick is a superior administrator, and he is encumbered by all these rules and regulations. But anyway, this money, instead of giving it to all of these not-for-profits, which pay administrators $100,000 a year and then some, can be used to, you know, help keep homeowners in their homes through these grants. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have another one, Mayor.
Okay.
Risa Williams.
Hi, this is Risa, 66049. I just wanted to start out by saying I really appreciate Reverend Barbee's proclamation. His late wife was my 5th grade teacher at Sunset back in the day, so they're very near and dear to my heart. These programs that we're looking to fund through the HUD funding, we're providing services which require salaries. So with what our previous speaker said, yes, we are paying salaries, but we have to do that in order to provide services. So I work very closely with most of these organizations with my job. I see the hard work they're doing. I see the difficult, there's not enough money. There are rules and regulations. I appreciate everything that the city's doing to try to help the low income and the medium income, which I like to call the low income and the low income these days. But so I just wanted to share that I think this is great and I really appreciate everyone's effort. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the comments.
Okay. Bring it back to the commission. No action on this item. It will come back to us in June as set forth, and we'll take some action at that time. But of course, we can make any comments at this time, or just like anyone else, we can submit comments in the next 30 days. But any comments?
So just a follow-up question to Mr. Watts' question, can individuals apply for these block grants?
That's kind of why we've set up these. You set up a project basically in that annual action plan, and then you have to have somebody to run that project. And so internally, we run our homeowner repair program that homeowners can directly apply to. Also, you see in the recommendations that Habitat is running they've applied to run what they call their critical repair program. They have a list of hundreds of people on their waiting list. So homeowners can apply directly to either of those organizations. They cannot apply directly to HUD for funding.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Cool. And just 1 second. And in order to get the grants, you need to have an administrator of those funds. You can't just have it just disappear, right? So there needs to be somebody in authority and responsible for these applications and the administration of these funds. So we can't just get rid of the overpaid bureaucrats, as Mr. Watts is pointing out. I want to make sure it can't go directly to them. I think that was underscored just now.
Yeah, administration is an important part of the grants. The applicants that applied for the public service, they're termed as a sub-recipient under the CDBG program, and that is required to be a nonprofit to receive that, to run a program for the city or a unit of local government like the county.
Yeah.
And so those are the requirements. As far as the administration for us, internally for the program, yes, somebody has to monitor and do this HUD paperwork.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Sure.
Hey, Bradley, one more quick question, because I know everyone kind of does their rehab program a little bit different. And I'm very familiar with the one in Wichita. When someone applies to our program, I don't know if we have anyone here to speak to Habitat for Humanity, they can get that to us at a later time. We know that there's more need than what can be provided. Does that, once those funds have been exhausted, is that a start all over process, or do we just bump people up and they go through they're like a placeholder for the next round? How do we address that?
So we discuss the applications with the individuals when we receive them. City staff goes through and kind of sorts through what is eligible and what's not eligible. Sometimes, it's a rehabilitation program. It's not a remodeling program, so we can't pay for upgrades to a house. So we have to kind of sort out the applications, and obviously the funding available is a big situation, and how fast we can get it done. So those emergency programs tend to go to the top. It's a faster environmental review for us to complete when it's a smaller scope of work. Usually only is one contractor instead of a general contractor and subs. And so and it's an emergency. Somebody doesn't have heat, air, water, or a hole in their roof. And so those tend to go towards the top. When we run out of funding, once we get this new round of funding for HUD for our 2026, we'll reopen that application process and once again kind of prioritize to help the most that we can.
Okay, so the possibility of someone having to reapply if we didn't get to them, that's a possibility.
Unfortunately, it is, yes. We still obviously will have their application on file, And if we, if they rise to the top compared to the new applications that we receive, we absolutely would address it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just say two things real quick. One, the administration has released their latest budget proposal, and it, like last year, asks to eliminate CDBG and home from the budget. That obviously did not pass last year, and they kept the funding the same. But we'll be certainly talking about that in DC, about asking to keep the CDBG and home projects funded. On a different but similar route, there is there's a bill, I forget the name of the bill, but it's basically streamlining, what's it called?
Well, now you
Can't remember what it's called, something streamlining bill. But Brad mentioned several times, first we have to do an environmental review, even when we're doing a remodeling project, and that streamlining bill is either going to, eliminate that requirement for certain projects or greatly reduce that. At least that's a proposal out there that we think would help us, help everyone spend that money a little better. I mean, obviously there's reasons you do environmental reviews, but there's also reasons not to have that administration if you can avoid it, especially on small projects. So that's another issue out there we'll be talking to folks about, and one of NLC's asks is that streamline part of it, but as well as keeping each CDBG in home. So, okay, thank you. We'll see you back in a month or so. Okay, that brings us to regular agenda item 2, which is to consider updates to the order of business for the city commission meetings and adoption of a resolution, 7633. And this, Sherry, I assume you don't have anything to say to start with. You can answer questions, but.
That's right. I can answer questions. Tony's here, Randy as well, but.
Yep. So kind of like last week with the HOC, this issue came up from a commission item, and so we're here to talk about that and get public comment. So I'll say a couple things to start, and then answer questions, open up the public comment, then we can bring it back to decide what we want to do, if anything. As you recall, when I brought this item up in public comment, my primary goal is, when I originally brought it up, was to move the city manager report and to the beginning of the meeting, and to have a commissioner report out session at the beginning of the meeting. I think that is helpful in us being able to provide information to the community. I think one of the things we've heard is sometimes we don't provide that information out there. We provide emails and it's on the website, but vocally putting that out there and having those reports at the very end of the meeting, usually at 10:30, 11 o'clock, doesn't really serve that purpose. I also I'm bringing this back now in particular because I also think as we get ready for a new city manager sometime this summer, this will also give the new city manager the chance to speak more to the community on just topics of interest. A couple of those examples all recently came up, like when we were doing a road project and people were questioning, we sent out an email about Wakarusa's undergoing warranty work. And then people see, they don't read that email or don't get that email, obviously, and then they see construction on Wakarusa and they're like, what's going on? And it'd be nice just to be able to say, hey, these are the upcoming projects, and these are things happening in the community. I also think it gives us a chance to report out on things going on early on. This would not replace commission items where we want to bring up topics, but it gives us a chance to talk about, hey, I went to this meeting or this is upcoming, and get that out early in the meeting to provide that information and let the community know what we're doing and what we're talking about. And I think related to that is commenting on the consent agenda. Right now, to comment on the consent agenda, we have to pull it, and that, slows the meeting down. But, for example, from tonight's agenda, I just wanted to say, and I'll use this moment to steal it, we have some really cool art projects coming up, And if people aren't looking at those, there's been some things in the paper about it, but these are some really cool art projects coming out. I know we've reported on it, but I'm excited about all of those. Anyway, it gives us a chance to highlight something like that really quickly. Now, I say all that, and we'll talk about this in a second. We don't want that to take too long, and I can't even blame Craig because he won't be here doing it. But whoever the city manager is, we won't want them to go on for 30 minutes. So, we want it to be short and concise. And for us, the meeting is waiting on us. We don't want to turn that into a long period of time. But I think some quick hitters, and we'll have to, get better at it because we've never done it. But get that information out, get it out quick, let the community know, and then move on with the agenda. But I do think that will allow all of us and the city manager to communicate better by moving that up earlier in the meeting. And so, when I brought that up in commission items, there was a discussion, well, if we're going to do that, we should also think about moving public comment back up to the beginning. And so I wanted to bring back a proposal that at least contemplated some move of public comment to the beginning. Clearly, my proposal, and I'd be happy with just making the changes I just mentioned and not moving public comment. I'm fine with the way it is. But I think others want some public comment up at the beginning, so I was trying to find a balance of that. And that balance was to allow some public comment at the beginning and then have full public comment at the end. That way, again, we're balancing when the regular agenda starts versus, we had meetings often where we had large open public comment on things not on the agenda, and we weren't starting the regular agenda until, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And as one emailer said, it'd be 10:30 and we're spending $10 million, with an empty room because everyone's gone home, and important agenda items weren't being discussed until late at night, which is one of the reasons to try to find that right balance. So I threw out an idea that's in the report, which was 5 people, so 15 minutes, sign up in advance, first come, first served basis, and that way we could try to get 5 comments in. For people who couldn't stay later, they could sign up, hopefully, get their comments in, and we could have open public comment later in the night. And I threw that out there. I've gotten some pushback on, comments from lots of people, and, lots of things I didn't really anticipate. I'll tell you what I was thinking it was for, and then I'm going to suggest to change some of the things I even proposed if we want to consider a scheduled time. What I've seen done in other cities, and what I was contemplating was you sign up by noon, and then when the new, and it's first come, first serve, and it's by email, so we know exactly when each one comes in, and the first 5 that come in, we have a name and a topic, and a zip code, and we put that on the agenda. So it's listed on the agenda just like, where we have scheduled public comment, and it would say Mike Devo wants to talk about 23rd Street, and Mike Courtney wants to talk about, the stormwater system, and, Amber wants to talk about, parks and rec fees. And that way, the public can look at the agenda and say, well, these are the 5 things people are going to talk about. I might want to tune in and listen to that. Or these 5 things I'm not interested in, I'm not going to listen. Now, I put that out there for that reason, and I've seen that done other places. Now, I got a lot of pushback that if you, by somehow putting, asking for the topic, we're going to somehow choose the topics, like pick the 5 best topics we want and put them on. Again, not the point. The point was first come, first serve. But if people have a concern about that, fine. I think you can take that off. I had recommended zip codes. I think, Sherry, we put in addresses because that's actually what's in the resolution now. We don't make people do it, but that's what the resolution says. I think we can change that to zip codes. I don't need the addresses. Happy to pull that out. Happy to pull out the topics, because that's not the point. The idea, and talk this through with Sherry, is it's first come, first serve. After the agenda is released, the first 5 people who email public comment, we would publish that name, and now we could publish the time in which they submitted the request. You know, Amber Sellos submitted her request at 5:52, and Mike Devil, did his at 5:54. And if someone submitted those on Friday at noon, they can realize, oops, the first 5 were taken. Again, I suggested 5. It could be more or less. I was trying to get to the 15 minutes. I also suggested once every 2 months, basically. I know Wichita does once every 3 months. The idea being, if you have a limited amount of public comment and that's scheduled, you don't necessarily want the same person speaking, or the same 5 people speaking every week. You want to try to have different people be able to come in on different topics. So I suggested once every, 2 months. Some people said that's, not enough. I mean, that's too much. I'm fine with not having that, and let's just see if the same 5 people, sign up, and maybe we want to change that. Or, or we can do it once every full meeting, so once every month. Or if someone would rather go every 3 months, we can do that too. The point of that was, if you have a limited amount of time, you would, try to prioritize that. Again, all options up here. But I would suggest, given the comments, that we go ahead and take off the topic, take off the address, and replace it with zip codes, and then do once every full meeting, see how that works, instead of once every 7, to see who signs up. Same idea. If we get 50 people signing up, and we say 5, maybe we want to change that to 10. But I think we want to see how that works for a little while. Last thing I would say is, one other thing I was going to say, but now I forget what it was. Anyway, then the rest of the agenda would kind of, pretty much remain the same. Commission items, those would be things where, again, like we do now, more of the specific, not comments, but things like we want to talk about want to talk about this topic in a future agenda, or talk about that in a future agenda. And that would still be commission items. And then we'd have open public comment as it exists today. Anyone that's here that wants to speak or online can speak, the 3 minutes. So really, it's just trying to add some at the beginning. But again, I'm wide open to what people think, and I'm also, if we want to leave it the same, I'm fine with that, or any other combinations. So, questions for me? Again, Sherry can answer questions about procedure, Tony about, I assume, about legal issues. And any questions you have, we can open up to public comment and bring it back for discussion. That's what I have.
Mayor, quick question.
Yep.
Look at the framework for the scheduled and general public comment. Would it be based on current procedures? No one can speak twice on an issue. So what would that process look like? And I'm trying to.
Well, I guess that is another reason to have a topic beforehand but the idea would be, again, like general public comment, would be not public comment on something on the agenda.
Right.
So that would be true. And so I think that was how I'd look at that. Yes.
Okay.
And then I think, again, I hadn't really put this in there, but I assume you'd only do once. If you spoke at the first 5, you wouldn't speak at the end. Right. One public comment.
But we would note that if someone.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really put that in there, but I think, that'd be a possibility.
Okay.
By the way, I do remember the other thing I was going to say, some reason that triggered it. We also got several public comments from people suggesting that, again, if we have a limited number at the beginning, like the 5, that we limit it to City of Lawrence residents, again, as opposed to anyone outside the city. And again, if we did that, we might add zip code and are you a resident of the City of Lawrence when you sign up, yes or no? If that's something we wanted to consider, you could add that in and do that. Other questions?
Sherry, anytime, at least I was always cognizant of it, anytime we add new processes that might just allow you to automate things, it can be burdensome. If we are messing around with all of this, I want to make sure that we are not being an administrative burden to you. I know you'll do whatever we ask, but I think I would like to at least hear you say how you feel about it.
Well, I did.
And you could be honest.
And you can be honest. I mean, and I very much care for the public's opinion as well, but I mean, we got to do a 360 here.
I did share with the mayor when he first brought this up my concerns about additional administration. I will say the more, I don't want to say complicated, that's probably not the best word, but the more complicated different time periods, different public comments, different things we have to track. Obviously, we're human, and the more open we are for error, which is a concern when we already have had some comments of folks expressing a distrust for the process. So anytime we do that, I get a little concerned if an error is made, if an email gets caught in a junk and then somebody's out of order. We'll do everything we can to administer it, but it does add a little bit of concern for me in that regard. More so than the administrative burden, because I know we'll work through that. And it will be additional administration. But the more we add complexity to it, that will obviously add some complexity and time in tracking it as well.
Thank you.
I will say a lot of other cities do this, so I know it's doable. I've reached out about their processes in case you decide to go that direction. But many cities have a pre-registration for public comment.
Yeah, that's what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Questions?
Yeah, question. The public comment being removed after the city manager's report, could you talk about that?
Yeah, again, the theory being that if we move that up and it becomes a much longer report, that we could end up with 45 minutes of public comment on, if it's an update on Wakarusa and an update on 9th Street and an update on, the fire department's awards, and then, we want to congratulate the police department on this award and we want this. Now we have 30 topics that might have been covered in 10 minutes, but now it's public comment that anyone can speak on any of those topics for 3 minutes. We could get back to the place where we're 45 minutes later and we haven't, we haven't got to the regular agenda. So that was my theory by moving it up to that point. And frankly, that's one of the reasons, I can't speak. Back in the day, long before I was on the commission, the city manager, there wasn't public comment on the city manager's report. And the city manager, this was several city managers ago, again, different time, different place, a lot more information was shared at that point. So anyway, I think that's the reason I left it off, is because I'm afraid, and again, if we have, public comment on our reports, again, now we're maybe talking 20, 30, 40, 50 topics that are then available for 3 minutes. So, I think if people are concerned about that, I do think you could change the open public comment at the end to say you can't talk about topics on the agenda, although I'm pretty loose about that, except for the city manager's reports and the comments, to open that up at the end. So that's, but that's my theory on that is, again, I'm trying to balance getting information out there and the complaint of having the regular agenda, especially when you have like a, well, a bunch of people are here,
Yeah, waiting to do business
waiting, we have the,
in general.
I'm trying to think of one, we have the, since you've been on, the Albemarle thing, we have 40 people in the room, and they're agenda item number 1, and we put them agenda item number 1 because we knew there was going to be 40 people in the room, and we tell them, be here about 5:45 or 6, and then it doesn't start till 8 o'clock because we've done all this other stuff before them. Again, with the scheduled time and having some discipline between us and the new city manager, we can say, look, we start at 5:45, we do the consent agenda, that sometimes goes long because we pull things, but then we have, proclamations, we have some comments, hey, your item 1, you should be here at 6:15, you should be good to go if you want to be there. That's my concern about opening that up, is that trying to find that balance.
Or have a hard start and stop time, like we're gonna do this for 30 minutes and then, if we get done, great. If we don't, there's a time, and my point is then we've got a control of the time and then we can tell people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly cities.
Change people's way they view this meeting as well.
Yeah, there's certainly cities who say, we're going to have wide open public comment, and we don't have people pre-register or whatever, but we only allow 15 minutes.
The whole meeting.
Or 30 minutes, or whatever it is. And then those people who say we're going to do, we could say we're going to do the city manager's report and commission items and public comment, but we're not doing more than 30 minutes. And then but then you're cutting people off who are there to speak.
Yeah.
And if someone talks long, then you get into this, well, I wanted to say one thing, and then who in the room, if you do that, and I see people do this, I mean, I've seen other cities do this, it's kind of a rush to the podium, or they have people sign up, they come in early and they have to sign their name. They don't sign up in advance, but they have to sign up on a pad of paper that's out in the hall, and so then people show up, 30 minutes early so they can make sure they can sign up to be on there. So, I mean, if there was a perfect answer, a perfect way to do this, everyone would do it the same way. So, but that's the theory.
Okay.
Again, not perfect, but that's the theory.
And I will just add that we do already have in there under general public comment that persons may speak on items that are not scheduled for discussion on the agenda.
Yeah.
So we already say that. So if there is an item, so if you didn't allow public comment on the city manager's report, that would be currently, they would be able to speak about that at this time because it's not scheduled for discussion.
Yeah. And again, I think in theory that's, and I'm happy to pull it, but that again is to Commissioner Seller's point and to that point, the reason you ask for a topic. Because let's say someone knows this is on the agenda, but they don't know our rules, and they email in, right? They're the first one to email and say, I want to talk about the order of the agenda. Well, they're the first one in, and they want to talk about, I want to talk about the home grant. Well, now they're the first one in, but they're going to talk about something that's on the agenda. I don't want to make Sherry have to weed that out. But then they show up and we say, well, that's coming up later, and then one of the 5 spots has been used up. Yeah. Whereas if we knew that's what they wanted to speak on, we could tell that in advance and we could move to the next one. But again, that becomes complex. That causes Sherry to have to reach out to them and figure it out, and we don't want to do that. Sherry doesn't want to do that. I don't want Sherry to do that. So I think that falls on the mayor if you do topics at all. So I'm happy to pull that. It was the idea, but not a great one, I don't think.
And in terms of this time being recorded and broadcast, is that going to be something that is included in the overall video session?
It'd be the same as we do it now.
Okay.
I mean, it'd all be recorded and then posted. So that, I'm not proposing any changes there.
Sherry, I had a quick clarifying question. I know you had said that there are other municipalities that have registration for public comment. Mm-hmm. Were you saying like public comment as it relates to agenda items or public comment as it relates to general public comment?
It depends on the city. Some have, their general public comment section is your one-time shot to talk about anything on the agenda or a general concern. Mm-hmm. Some, they can only speak to an agenda item. so that at the time an item is considered, it's your consideration and conversation, and public comment doesn't happen at that time on the items.
Right.
So it really just depends on how they have it. But many have you register in advance, regardless of how
Regardless
they
of which one it
actually
is.
handle the public comment in terms of whether it's related to items or general public comment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think, you know, like I said, I think that's a good distinction between general public comment and public comment. I mean, there definitely are cities that at the very beginning of the meeting say, you know, all the agenda items, talk about it now, and once that's over, you know, the public never speaks again. I don't like that at all. I like allowing people to speak multiple times as each topic comes up, but certainly some cities do it that way. Some cities only allow general public comment once a month, and once a month with limitations. You know, we could schedule that. Again, I don't support that. I'm just saying there's all sorts of ways we can do it. I just tried to propose one to make some changes, and if we don't like them, we can keep doing what we're doing. But I just wanted to bring it up for discussion and get the comments of, you know, see what we want to do.
And then if this does go forward, what would be the timeline to implement it for kind of first try?
Well, it's certainly assuming we make some changes tonight, which I expect we would want to bring it back, or we'd have to bring it back to adopt. And then I'd want to give Sherry a little time if we did something more, if we'd made a change that required some sort of, you know, updating of our processes. So I think, you know, the earliest I would see it changing is probably June, you know, the first meeting in June, just to give us some time. Obviously, we could coincide it with the new city manager whenever that happens. We could push it to make it happen earlier in May, maybe, but my thought would be June 1 at the earliest. Or the first meeting in June. Sherry, do you think it'd take more time if we figure something out tonight? If we punt, then of course.
No, I think we can do it by June, even if we had to bring it back the first meeting in May. I don't think that's an issue. Okay.
Okay, we'll open it up to public comment. 3 minutes.
Haven't seen you guys in a while. There's a reason I'm here tonight, because this is insanity. Let's go through the history of why public comment was moved. There were certain commissioners that didn't like the way certain people spoke. And some of those words that you didn't like, quoting George Carlin, I think he said the 7 deadly words were shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, and tits. Anybody coming to arrest me this time? No? By the way, you should have seen the joking going on over here while you guys were talking with Casey and Brandon. Anyway, those words are free speech. Those words are what caused this commission to make all these moves about public comment. Myself and a couple other people were deeply involved in that, had some serious discussions with people. You guys have very little option now because of those moves that you made in the past. They were very intentional, they were documented, they were on the record, and we know why those moves were made. I tried to have some discussions with 4 of you before I started consulting legal about this. And by the time I had people actually engaging with me, it was too late for me to discuss these things because they not only involve me, they involve other people. This will be challenged if you choose to do this. I don't care about the rest of your moves about the agenda. You can put Craig wherever the hell you want. You can do the city manager's report, then whatever. It doesn't matter to me. What I'm problematic with is this idea of separate but equal. I think you guys all went to school about the same time I did. Y'all remember the 1965 Civil Rights Act? You know how much of a fucking shame it would be to have to use that to make this point? Don't make me have to do this. You guys have 2 options. You can either leave where it's at or move it back the way it was. The third option is to not have it at all. But the idea of having two separate public comment periods and limiting who can sign up and when and how often they can sign up for this one versus this one. And you even said it yourself, we're going to have general public comment and then general public comment. How do you have two general public comment sessions during the meeting? Legally. Oh, that's my phone. I'll go ahead and shut off that alarm. Cuss words on there too. But this separate but equal idea isn't going to work, and it will be challenged, and we're all going to just spend a bunch of money in court over it. So please don't do anything with public comment. Do whatever you want with the rest of it.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. Eric Hyde, 1605 West 27th Street, 66046. I just wanted to show you that I got a new prescription. It's related, I swear. Lower my heart rate, blood pressure, and fight or flight response. I realized my last name is not a curse, it's an opportunity. So, Mr. Hyde, that is the monster from the book Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But he's actually not really a monster, but anyway, we won't get into that. I have been monstrous, and I believe in Immanuel Kant and the categorical imperative. So I believe I am to blame, partially, maybe mostly, for the way things have gone. I'm sure there are other people that have done what I did. I don't know if anybody has yelled as much as I have done, though, in the amount of minutes I have yelled. And I no longer agree with that ever. I, as a public, go under 3 minutes. My point is that to help you, I believe, like the police, sometimes you got to do the hard things to help the process. So, for instance, if there's disorderly conduct, which I was threatened to be jailed for the other day, which I remembered is right because I was threatened for the same thing when I was in London. I was yelling expletives outside. I was in a self-defense situation. I was very amped, but the officer was like, hey, you're gonna go to jail. I was like, okay, I walked away. He let me walk away. So I think we need to do something like that in the room. When there's a lot of disorder going on, you need to enforce rules on the public. However, if you're gonna enforce rules on the public, there are a couple things I really want to happen. One thing I really don't like seeing whenever I come to city commission meetings is when the boards and the city staff, and then they sort of tag team this presentation, public comment. You mentioned speaking twice. Well, they speak twice a lot. They buddy up on the public comment and all that stuff. That really irritates me because it's not fair. City and the public is just, ooh. So anyway, what I'm saying is that I think Dever, I'm sorry, I pronounce your name, but I think he's right, kind of. 30 minutes is a good, I mean, it's close to the number pi. I love the number pi. 3.141592653. I haven't, whatever. I messed that up, it's okay. No more time left. It has to be fair for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Flowers, and one of the things I found interesting is this whole commission report that we're moving to the beginning when you already have the opportunity to talk about this now and you choose not to. So I don't understand, why don't you just talk about it now? And if it's because, well, it's late and we're tired, does that mean you're gonna be too tired to thoroughly talk about regular agenda items when they're now the later item? Because we added 15 minutes of you talking about your commission reports. And also, when we move public comment to the end, it's because, well, it's not fair to the regular agenda folk that they come here to speak about this and they have to wait extra because of that. Yet you're gonna move a commission report to the beginning before that, and you're gonna make them wait through that. So I just wanna throw that out there, that you all are doing that. And I think I'm not a fan of that. Like, just if you can't talk about it now when you have the opportunity because it's late, I don't know. I just think that's poor, poor commissionership. Also, I'm against the civility pledge. I mean, I support it in theory, but from what I think part of the reason we're doing this is like a response to ICE protest. And a civility pledge is something I think is designed by the status quo. Extremists have to get uncivil sometimes. I mean, our hero is John Brown, who killed people he disagreed with. And we're gonna have a civility pledge? No, because sometimes you all gotta be told fuck off when you are, you know, being corrupt, when you're not doing things right. And I try not to. I don't know, sometimes I might have said that, but it's usually, I don't just go out there throwing it around like some people do. And it should be up to the individual to decide when it is time to get drastic, I guess, which, you know, for me, it's not often, but I don't know. I'm against the civility pledge though, because it is something that maintains status quo. I'm against signing up for a public comment. I'm okay with what you want to do, as long as there's a general public comment time when people don't have to sign up because people don't trust the government, they don't like giving their names. And that's pretty much my ideas right now. Thank you.
John M. 66049. I've already written on this topic, so you've heard from me, but just listening to you, I don't envy the problem you're struggling with. You know, I go to county meetings all the time, and I speak quite frequently, and I'm often the only one there and the only one speaking. So I guess you should be happy you're so popular with the public, because this meeting is pretty different. I just had an idea that's really different, and you may or may not like it, but you could just pull general public comment from your regular meetings and make a special day at whatever interval seems reasonable, and invite the public that this is a general public day, public conversation day, and all of you come with all of the items that are not on the agenda and you haven't seen it on the agenda but you want to talk about, and come and share with the commissioners. I don't know, it's just a different idea. It's going to be hard to balance to what you're trying to do. I appreciate that.
Any other comments in the room? Patrick getting up to come in? Okay.
Patrick Ross, 66049. Don't have too much to say other than the one thing that I kind of go to is sort of the opportunities for members of the unhoused to sign up in this scenario. And my initial thought is an email sign up might be a hurdle that once they finally show up, then they'll learn there, and then they'll miss out on their opportunity to speak. So if there's any consideration to that type of demographic and a physicality element of coming and signing up, because I've seen here sort of a few times where members from that community will come and they'll be here at the start of the meeting. And so I think if there's a way to value that type of follow through, it would be nice if there was some sort of consideration there. So, I mean, I don't really have a solution to that, but if you could consider that in your decision. And then other than that, I'd be interested to see how the system would play out. I don't have too many other issues other than maybe while we're on this subject, if we could state again, because I know there was a reason made for why we aren't doing it simultaneously on Zoom and YouTube. So if we could just clearly state why that decision is being upheld and not being amended at this point, those would be my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
First of all, I wanted to say I appreciate Mayor Finkelda, your point on taking off the addresses. As someone who has had a restraining order for a long time, I go to great lengths to not have to just put my address out there when I don't have to. There are times that I'm leaving at 10 p.m. because my son's waiting at home, and I just have to cut out of here, and I'm wondering, like, okay, what did I miss that Christina was gonna say, or whatever it may be. I don't know that I'm in favor of moving the comments, like totally all the comments to the front of the meetings, because I do think we have to be mindful of people's time. And then I like the other gentleman's point of like the unhoused community being able to sign up for it, but I don't know, I almost was thinking maybe if we did something more like once a month, the public comments are just at the beginning of the meeting, and so maybe that first week of the month or whatever, whoever's presenting first, they just kind of go into it knowing maybe I don't expect to actually present until 6:30 or something like that. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Any other comments in the room on this topic? Seeing none, how about online?
We do have a few, Mayor. Risa Williams.
Hi, I just want to share, like, I join on Zoom every week. I have kiddos, and it makes it difficult to get down there. I'm generally like folding laundry or making dinner and listening to city commission. So if I had to sign up ahead of time, keep track of the time, and just, it seems like it adds more complexity to being able to share when I hear something that's, sparks a thought. I'm not one that writes out a speech, and I think if I had a time spot where I think I'd have anxiety about it a little bit. I know we're not gonna ever make everyone happy, so I don't envy your decision. Echoing what Patrick said, working with the unhoused, they live in 24-hour increments of survival. So telling somebody that they're going to speak public comment next Tuesday, that's a long time away, or it's far from now, and so keeping track of that, on top of figuring out how to sign up, just creates more barriers. And then the information about sharing the commission report, I feel like I come to the meetings on here to be informed. The information's out there. The people who are complaining that they don't know about things aren't really looking for information. So I guess my response to that would be get more involved, engage. I mean, we all have busy schedules. It's what's important to you, I guess. Thank you.
Stephen Watts.
Howdy. So, we have a Pollyanna before me suggesting that it's all good and how dare you suggest anything. But at any rate, with respect to this whole point is about the town commission meetings, you have stripped the public from their ability to access the consent agenda. We're supposed to depend upon you people to do that. You haven't done a very good job doing it, so why are you so afraid of allowing the public to pull consent agenda items? And that's not included in this. In addition, you strip away, I'm pausing for a pregnancy, you strip away the ability for us to talk about the city manager report, which up until now has been nothing but banal. You know, I prefer to say banal because that's the way it's really pronounced. But here in Lawrence, Kansas, if you say banal, it's more appropriate because it's up there in hoity-toity land, 500 meters from my house. It's banal. Why are they allowed to do one thing after another? What are we going to do so that the town commission controls the town? And we do that via dialogue, but you keep denying the ability of the public to speak on things. Why is this important? Why is this something that we continue to talk about over and over and over? Let me pull this up on the agenda. I mean, as I eat at my valuable 3 minutes, consider updates to the order of business for city commission meetings and adoption. Yeah, the city manager report. Why did you strip away the ability for the public to talk on that? That guy, up until now, hasn't said diddly shit for almost 2 years. And it's important to have the ability to say, hey, how about having a report on this? Or how about having a report on that? You know what I mean? I don't think you do, but I'm still talking about it. How much of you are for sale? And how much of you are for our town? That's what it all comes down to. All about fucking free speech in Lawrence, Kansas, where John Brown, as I wrote to you, is pimped. And yet, in the final analysis, John Brown, at this time in Lawrence, Kansas, would be run out of town. See you boys later.
Thank you, Stephen.
Dominique?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm at work, so if you hear something in the background, that's what happens. But anyways, I don't really have crazy thoughts on the general public comment. If we were to move a couple people up and have, people sign up for a slot, 5, 10, whatever we decide at the beginning, and then have general public comment continue on at the end of the meeting, I don't have a problem with that. I'm usually one of the last people. I haven't been there for the past couple meetings, but, I stay until the end of the night. I think it's fine. I think people are getting up in the arms about this concept of free speech as like a weird, dog whistle. What is going on with this? I think this is just grandstanding on a lot of things. I understand the concept of free speech. Everybody wants to invoke John Brown, but then we also want to make weird dog whistles towards our black commissioner, right? So it's like, anyways, back to the point. The point is, I think this is a volatile situation because people have opinions about it, but it's interesting as I've become more involved in going to the city commissions to see who shows up when what topics come up. And if somebody has to go and moan and complain in person or over Zoom to feel heard, that's one thing. But I do think there are other avenues to speak to the commission. There are other avenues to speak to city employees, so it's not this whole like not being heard. I get the sentiment, but I think it's also a product of laziness. So it's kind of just my general idea. If you have a couple of folks at the beginning, I think that's fine. I think managing time is important. I think also other people can wait at the end of the night because the commissioners can't make any action on general public comment. So what is the urgency to have to say something at the beginning, right? When there are other avenues to speak to the commissioners, you can call them, you can email them, you can text them. These things exist, and there are other avenues. I do think it is, important to try to give people the ability to feel like they're heard. But it is also very apparent to me that some people just come here to do grandstanding and threaten the commission for what reason? To do what? It doesn't make sense. And I think if we have to make those people wait till the end of the night, so be it. I think it's fine because I've also been the person at the end of the night. But that's just my opinion. I think this is we're getting weird about it. So that's my comment.
That's all the public comment.
Okay, we'll bring it back to commission, and I'll say a few things and open it up for thoughts based upon some of those comments. I mean, clearly there's some comments, some people like the 2 sessions, some don't. There's certainly reasons to leave it the way it is and not make it complicated. I was trying to find a way to find that balance, but I'm open to thoughts. I will say the civility thing I added in there was something I would, say. I mean, obviously the speaker doesn't have to accept it, but it's something to try to remind folks. And that came out of NLC and the dignity interest. John mentioned, the idea which we floated, it's been floated at different times. You could have one meeting a month where you put, start at 5:30, start at 5 o'clock and have public comment. You could, in theory, make the 4th, Tuesday of the month just public comment. Don't make staff come, listen to public comment. You could do it at 5:45 for an hour. I mean, there's different ways to do it. Obviously, some communities only have general public comment once a month and don't do it at every meeting. Personally, I think we get pushback of not having it every meeting because people don't know, something happens. They want to come speak on it, and if we only do it once a month. But I'm open to the discussion. Sherry and I did talk about this issue of people without email signing up, houselessness or others. In theory, I always think about worst case scenarios. I mean, my fear is 20 people are going to sign up for 5 spots. But in reality, there might only be one person signing up for that spot. And then we would be able to allow people to call in or people to set it up. Again, I want to do first come, first serve, so it would be less administratively burdensome. But I do think you could have sign-ups, on the night. If you had the 5 and only 2 people signed up, you could take sign-ups that night for the 3 other spots. But if they were signed up in advance, again, you could at least release that on the agenda as soon as they were signed up. So, if we release the agenda on Thursday and all 5 are signed up, right away, Sherry would, release an update on Friday like she often does, and you'd have those 5 spots filled. People would know that. Or they'd know that only 2 of them are filled and there's 3 spots available. That might cause someone to say, hey, I might take that slot. Again, that's the theory. But I do understand, we could set it up so that, again, administrative hassle, but people could call in and ask for a spot as opposed to an email. But I was trying to make it easy, but certainly there's a trade-off, and Sherry brought that up to me. and I'm glad Patrick and Rebecca brought that up as well. It is an issue. Again, anyone can speak at the end of the meeting. So anyway, I am, as you said, my thought is move the city manager report and our reports to the beginning. I agree with Chris Flowers that if we talk too long, we've defeated our own purpose, and we'd have to self-regulate that.
Maybe we could be on the clock.
And we could put a time limit on it.
Somebody suggested that to me before. So,
they want Mike.
I want a 3-minute shot clock from Mike Dever.
We could do that. We could put our own shot clock.
Anyway.
That's a good point.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a good point. And I could see myself not using 3 minutes every week.
No.
I mean, I think some weeks there's something more that happens. And often that first meeting of the month when we haven't had a meeting for a week or 2, there's more stuff happening, and or you have more time in your life to do some things. And so then you have something more to report. Anyway, I think that's a possibility. So I'll stop talking. Let me see if we can come to consensus, and if we can't, we'll just leave it the same and go on.
Yeah, I mean, a thought for me, we were talking about every 4 weeks. I actually think just once a month would be okay. So let's say somebody wanted to have a public comment today, then they saw something on the meeting, the first one in May, they could comment that, but then they would be done for the month. That way it could also be easier for Sherry to just maintain the list for a month without trying to track, oh, this has been 4 weeks from this day and stuff like that.
Just once?
Yeah, just once a month.
Once a month, okay.
So that might be, something I would say. I completely agree with the, personal identifiable information. If during public comment, we ask for a name and a zip code, we should require the same for that without having an address. That makes total sense to me. But yeah, I mean, like, I think about, when Representative Mosley was here, she asked us to try to do something better, and I think this is better. And I guess, Tony, a question for you, like to Mr. Aravi's point, is there any legal, he mentioned that by breaking it up like this, there could be some legal ramifications that we're seeing. Is there anything that you're aware of that may cause that to happen?
No. The proposals that have been put forth are proposals that have been tried by other cities, and we're not aware of any prohibition.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, and maybe just because I wasn't here during this, to Patrick's question about the Zoom and the YouTube stuff, could you maybe speak to that just for a minute about why it currently is the way it is? And
yeah, Tony can help me.
There was a state law change that required that if any city live streamed, they'd have to live stream the whole meeting. And there was just a decision that we could still provide a recorded version of the meeting at a later date, and live streaming wasn't required. Also, other local units of government don't live stream. I think we're the only ones in the community that were. And so it was just a response to that legislation.
And even when we're live streaming, for people to, the Zoom, I think, is the important part, because people can call in with that.
right, yeah, you can't do that on YouTube. Yeah, exactly. But no, I mean, I support this. I think I like what we're trying to do to bring it back. I mean, we shouldn't. It's basically a wash. I mean, we're taking some away from the city manager's report, but we're putting it out in this format. And we're putting it out in a way that people could come, they could sign up. You could have people who are families, who have kids, who it's almost impossible to be here at 10 o'clock at night, to be able to come here early in the meeting and then petition the government. I'm for this. I mean, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, if it goes badly, we can change it.
Yeah, exactly, but I support this.
Mayor, first of all, thank you very much for bringing this forward. I mean, nothing's going to be perfect, but I think I've been very clear about really wanting the community's trust, and I think you gain that when you allow them to speak openly to us. I do worry about those folks that have to get up early, maybe get kiddos to bed, and they need an opportunity. So I do appreciate the 15 minutes. I would be interested, I would love the public comment, that 15 minutes to come before the commissioner reports and the city manager's report, kind of out of principle, but what are your thoughts on that? As far as do we think those, I mean, we assume that these people, the folks that have signed up already have their topic in mind. So could we consider putting that public comment before city managers and commission's report?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Do we
That's
see,
not strong.
I mean, it's a little thing. I think it'd be a great gesture of, hey, your public comments mean something. Let's get you guys out of here as soon as we can. I'm also an advocate. I know Commissioner Sellers has mentioned in the past. We've talked about it as setting a designated time to hear from the public, that while we're not trying to do business, I'm certainly open to that as well. I say come in, we could come in once a month at 5 o'clock and still leave public comment on just as it is. It's just an extra hour for people to, or 45 minutes for people to talk to us. I mean, it would have to be an open meeting, obviously, but we wouldn't have to take any action for anything. These are all ideas. These are great. I don't think, I don't know. Let's continue talking about it. Maybe we can get some consensus.
Well,
you're on the clock.
Okay. Yeah, so I like the idea of reordering the agenda. I would rather dedicate beginning of a meeting once a month to public comment than necessarily splitting things up into two pieces for a variety of reasons. But I also understand I'm okay with having time up front as long as there's no delineation between how you speak, how you sign up, or, and what you can talk about. So there's clearly no discrimination in any way, shape, or form between somebody who signs up and somebody who's at the end of the meeting. And then for me, I'd rather have time, honestly, to just sit down and listen to people for an hour or two. Have an extra meeting. We used to have meetings every Tuesday of the month when I was a commissioner last time, and we were lucky to get a day off. So now we get Tuesdays off if we want to talk about having a meeting dedicated to listening. Make it a public meeting. If people can't show up for some reason, fine, but it's there every month, and we listen, and then we can have extensive conversations. Maybe we're not allowed to comment on public comment, but we can talk amongst ourselves per se, and it's not 11 o'clock at night. So that's kind of me trying to shape a real conversation to what you're saying. I still feel rushed, when we do have a lot of things on the agenda, we really aren't able to get to everything we probably should, even talking amongst ourselves. I feel like that would be an option. I would rather not have two sessions in the meeting, but I also see the need, and I would do that as well if there was no delineation. And the other changes, I'm fine. I do want a time limit on each of these if possible, though. If we're going to put limits on these, like a public comment of 15 minutes, let's talk about time and value everybody's equally. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Dever, to your point, usually the fourth week seems like when people are traveling and stuff like that. So we could have a meeting with, who's ever here. It doesn't have to be all five of us.
Yeah.
And that could be
If you're looking
recorded. Yeah.
Just opportunities.
Yeah.
And without all this other stuff on your mind.
Right.
I don't know. That's what I would say. If you really want to hear, that would be a good chance to.
And I do think, one of the reasons we went to not having the meeting was to give staff time to work on things without having an agenda every week. But if it's just public comment, staff wouldn't have to.
Yeah, no action taken.
Right.
We might make Kurt be here and maybe Sherry to run the clock. But beyond those two, Sherry, sorry. Sorry. We wouldn't have the rest of the staff. That'd be a possibility. Again, I think the other possibility is, we often, but it always depends on the commission. 5 o'clock's hard for some people. We try to do 5 with executive sessions when we have them. But if one week a month you wanted to do, 5 o'clock and do that rather than the last one.
Great idea.
But I don't know if that, I'm open to try that as opposed to trying this, 2 separate things, and it might be less administrative. Sherry, asking you, this is a loaded question, I think I know your answer. Would you rather come once a month at 5 or the 4th Tuesday of the month at 5:45?
No pressure.
Well, a fourth meeting is not just administration for me, that's Kurt and, which is Corey's staff. So, I think that's doable, but I would say either of those options, I think administratively in general are a better option. It's less confusing for the public. It leaves less room for error for myself and my staff and confusion than the two, we'll do whatever you all ask and we will make it work. Great. I'm confident in that. I do think the one meeting at, once a month starting at 5 or, just a public comment session, that 4th Tuesday or some other time is potentially a better option than having it separated the way that it is in the registration.
So, not to save the best for last, no.
The best.
No, or one of the best. I got 4 other people to contend with. And I'm glad we kind of got to this point about what can we do that's in the current process of what we have right now. I know for some of us, we use that 4th Tuesday to do meetings out in the community. I know I take several meetings during that time to go over things either that I know that are on the future agenda item or things that we're discussing that we know that's going to come back in front of us. So not that that's not an invaluable time that is timely, for many of us commissioners who utilize that time, it's not necessarily a day off for us, it's still a work day for us. I do like the idea of the dedicated time in the, whether it's the last meeting of the month where we can kind of see in the agenda and address for maybe having a lighter agenda for, so that we can accommodate for that. I think what my concern is us coming in at 5 o'clock one day out of the month, a Tuesday out of the month, is if that happens to be a time that we need to have an executive session. So that means that we probably pull it to the end, which if everybody's cool with that, then that's what the shift is. And I think that's an easy shift, but just something to be mindful of. The initial thought about the splitting, just, I gave it some thought. I think there could be some things that we can work with, but I think what it boils down to, what the conversation has showed all of us, is that it's not necessarily about splitting, it's about giving it that dedicated time early on in the agenda. And if we do that one meeting out of the month, then that means that is one meeting out of the month that's dedicated for general public comment. We don't have to worry about having it at the end, because we have that responsibility of having it from a local level, because it's not statutorily required for us to do it. But we are setting time aside, whatever that time is, 45 minutes, an hour, 3-minute comment. People can't speak more than twice on an issue, so on and so forth. So that kind of sticks well with me. And what I think that will get us towards, which is something that I know I've shared with several other times with us, is that we have to, and I think Dominique kind of alluded to it in her comments, is that as commissioners, we have to start looking at what other opportunities can we have to do to be more visual, and I don't say more, but just visual, yes, more visual in the community. We don't, sometimes I think we take a little bit of liberty with our form of government, and that we don't have the due diligence of having first Sunday or first Saturday meetings. Like, me growing up, I would go to District 1 meetings, that's where we went. You got your muffin, you got your juice, you heard from someone from the city. There was an elected official there to have that conversation. And a lot of things that you hear during general public comment, those were things that were taken care of during those first Saturday meetings. So I think we have an opportunity that we can bring that approach to one meeting out of the month. Maybe we can broach the conversation in 6 to 12 months about what that looks like. I know we plan on shopping that out, as we talk about the strategic plan. But, I want us to the point, yes, there's more than one way to engage with us other than during general public comment. But hopefully, maybe we can kind of find a balance in between these two to say, what are some things that we could do to be more visual in the community, to have these community conversations and not feel like the community has to come to City Hall to have those conversations. So maybe one day, 5 o'clock, 45 minutes-ish to an hour. That means if we're doing it on that day, the other Tuesdays, no general public comment, and then we can kind of work through that.
Until the end. No general public comment at all in the meetings whatsoever.
Not on the other meetings, no.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right. I just want to make sure I understood that. Yeah, okay.
So what I'm hearing is, we would liken the idea better to get rid of this idea of splitting the public comment. The reordering, it's fine. Maybe put some limits on us.
Yes, definitely that.
Sherry, you got that? 3 minutes on us. Yeah, 3 minutes on us during our reporting period. And then I'll ask Tony this. I'm not sure she has the answer. Is there any typical week we have executive sessions any more than any other? I think they're pretty random.
No, it sort of depends on events, but, we can plan, we can always have executive sessions later in the evening.
Yes, we can always do it at night.
We did that in the past. If there's really complex matters, people can be tired. So we could try to plan them around the 5 o'clock public comment sessions.
And so it would be 5 o'clock, 45 minutes, sign up, yes or no, or people just show up?
Just show
Okay.
Show up.
Just show up.
And then that night, there's no general comment, but the comments how they are now would be those other 2 nights. So people, let's say it's the third Tuesday.
No general public comment.
She's saying extract general
You're
public comment
extracting
from
it
the
from the other
other
2
meetings,
weeks.
not.
Because you're having
full
one weekday, one Tuesday of a dedicated.
But so I'm clear, you're thinking of still having the public comment on agenda items that are scheduled?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I would be leery of dropping general public comment on the other 2 nights because we've limited it to 45 minutes. Because, I mean, we've definitely had nights where we've had, a general public comment that lasted 2 hours. And if what we're saying is we're going to have a general public comment that people don't have to sign up for, and we stop it after 45 minutes because we're going to start our regular meeting, I think I hear what you're saying, and lots of communities only do once a month. But
Yeah, because you need a relief valve for comments in between the one meeting and things that might come up on, I think is what you're saying, once a month?
That's my initial reaction. I'm open to comments.
Yeah. Well, I saw your head shaking over there.
And I certainly appreciate what everyone has recommended. For me personally, I would like to really just add the 45 minutes. My thought is it's gonna ebb and flow, right? We're right in the budget time, so we might come here at 5 o'clock and nobody's here. We might, but I would simply like to just add the 45 minutes to a day that we all agree on, and then keep general public comment at the end.
Okay.
I support that.
And my hope is that extra 45 minutes might keep those.
The pressure valve.
Yeah, that's my hope. And then honestly, I really, really appreciate Commissioner Sellers, the first Saturday of the month, whatever, if we do something like that. If we added another opportunity, couple of hours, then I'd probably be a little more open to maybe removing general public comment. But I'm afraid that just that extra 45 minutes is not enough. I think there's quite a few people who still want to access us.
Those individuals that speak during that 45 minutes, are they able to speak again
That night? No.
that night?
No, I think once a night. Once a night.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they can still comment on an agenda item, but general public comment,
general public comment, not-
yeah. I would say no.
Well, isn't that at the beginning then? So we're not gonna have the beginning and the end, or just the beginning at that meeting, whatever.
Right, why are you having a beginning and an end?
We don't have, and I'm fine with not. I would like the other 2 meetings, though, to have general public comment.
Do have that removal at the end.
Yeah, we don't have to have,
Okay.
Okay, I'm writing this down. Okay, and
You did a lot of good work.
no, hey, I'm just bringing discussion points. I'm
Just
trying.
painting the house.
Hey, it's all good. And
Should have done a PowerPoint.
that's why I did it. That's why I did it. Okay, so what I'm hearing is maybe and I'm just going to pick the second meeting of the month, start at 5 o'clock, open general public comment from 5 to 5:45. You can only, and that's our general public comment for that night. The other meetings, the first and the third, we'd have public comment at the end. Otherwise, from the proposal I put forward, take out the scheduled public comment, but go ahead and move the city manager report up and the city commission report up, each of us limited to 3 minutes. Like the public, we can do it. And then the rest of that would be the same.
And yeah, just so the public knows, quasi judicial, you can comment after that, regular agenda items, comment after that, and then just like it is now.
Yes.
Gotcha.
A couple of things.
Yep.
So we have the city commission report, things of the happenings, to-dos, board commission items to talk about. And that means commission items are strictly for requests and items that we have for staff.
Or
Or ourselves?
Or ourselves.
Or ourselves, okay. Yeah, no.
Try not to,
Wayne.
no reporting out on commission
reporting out.
items, but if we went, hey, I'd like to bring up
Yeah,
this.
yeah, somebody.
Is there 3 people
Yeah.
interested in bringing that up?
Can
Or
we
I'd-
get an agreement on this?
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would be commission items.
Yeah, and then a couple of things just on language. I know that, and we've all done this because we've fluctuated with the language around general public comment, open public comment, public comment. We know on agenda items, or we say committee, regularly say, under regular agenda items, those items always come with public comment. I notice on the agenda, we use general public, we're using open public comment. So I want us to try to get away, and I think it's even for me to not say general public comment, to say open public comment. So we need to start, I'm teaching us, I'm saying it out loud so I can teach myself. So that we can continue to say open public comment and not general public comment.
Yeah.
And then just, the language is kind of sticking with me on this. Sherry, and I've always looked at it and just kind of just been like, eh. But I think as we start to like evolve what our amended system's gonna look like, when we say the public is allowed to speak on issues and items not included for discussion on the agenda, since we have this at the end, it's like past tense. Because we're saying that they can't speak on items not scheduled for discussion on the agenda. By this time, we've already discussed the agenda. So that line makes no sense.
If we keep it in that position.
If we keep it in that line, well, yeah. So, but I mean, that would be good for when we have it at 5 o'clock, but I'm just saying, moving forward, that line is kind of out of order. So it just needs to be tweaked, but I'm just saying how I interpret it is that, we've already done the agenda, so, and oftentimes people do speak on items during that time that we've discussed on the agenda.
Correct.
Okay.
And then
Just a little technical cleanup.
We can update that.
And then maybe just one more question to, Mr. Flowers' point. So the civility pledge will be in gray, basically, in the agenda, kind of?
It'd be just something I would, just like, when I read open public comment, you have 3 minutes, and then I was just going to add that in there.
Gotcha.
Just
But it's not
every
like
time.
something somebody has to say.
No,
because
not, they have to say it. I just read it in there like, again, that's what I was trying to say, that I would, whoever, of course, the mayor was at the time, would be saying, now it's public comment, public has 3 minutes, they must speak on items not germane to the business of the body, and then add that statement, and we ask you to follow it. And whether or not people follow it, but at least it's a reminder each time before they speak that we think healthy debate's important.
And then if it goes less than 45 minutes, we could start the meeting early?
Typically, I think we do like we did exec. We just wouldn't start the meeting, so people can know when to show up.
Yeah, it's.
Okay.
Because if they want to come to them,
So we just adjourn for 15.
Yeah, we just recess.
Recess and then come back in.
Okay, makes sense.
If we should be so lucky, is what I'm trying to say.
This town doesn't have opinions. What are you talking about? Yeah.
No, what I mean is, it'll be probably, we'll probably be listening a lot, I hope.
Yeah.
I hope, 100%.
I'm inviting them to come early. I hope that pays off.
Yeah, I mean, really, at the end of the day, we're looking for more public comment, which I think is really fantastic for this body.
Okay. Sherry, what do you,
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So we will still have open public comment at all 3 meetings. The second meeting of the month, it will move to the second meeting of the month. The second meeting of the month, it'll move to the beginning of the meeting
to 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
at 5 o'clock,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Rock chalk.
And then the rest of my proposal works, except this, take all the complicated
Right.
two
We'll remove
two meetings.
Yeah, the city manager's report and the city commission, the added city commission will move to the beginning,
Right.
or move up in the agenda, but after public comment.
And we'll limit ourselves to 3
Wait,
minutes.
No, we're not doing
Yeah,
this yet.
sorry, this
Yep.
is public comments.
All right.
Yep, got it.
Anyway, we'll bring that, obviously, we'll put that on a future agenda once we clean that up, and we'll have a chance to look at that on an agenda and see what we think. And obviously, if we decide it's not working, we can change it again.
Amen.
Okay, so I don't think we have any motion tonight, but I think we've given direction, and we'll bring it back.
I think that direction's great. Thank you.
Okay, good discussion.
This is a really good discussion. Thanks.
Okay, that ends our regular agenda. now that takes us to commission items and future agenda items. Anyone have any commission items? I'll say just really quick, if you've not yet gone into the public survey that we got the link to, where you can sort by all different ways. And I'll just say it's very interesting to me. You know, you can sort by age, and this is very, because there's 50 topics. I'm going to say this very generically. It's not across the board, but I'd say typically when you sort by young versus old and the different ages, the young are less satisfied than the older generations generally across the board. Lower income individuals are less satisfied than higher income individuals, although the sweet spot seems to be if you make between 100 and 200,000, you're more satisfied than people who make more than 200,000 and certainly less than 50,000. Detached homeowners are generally more satisfied than folks who live in attached apartments, except when it goes to property taxes and services. Then detached homeowners are much less happy than attached. And interestingly, people who do not have children are much more satisfied than people with children.
I feel attacked.
And white and white individuals are generally more satisfied than non-white. And women are much more satisfied than men in this town. I mean, across the board. Even interestingly, like safety, women had 72%, the overall feeling of safety. Women said they were satisfied or very satisfied 72% of the time. Men said 59%. In downtown, women said they feel 80% said they feel safe downtown, and 66% of men say they feel safe downtown.
You highlighted that because I saw that.
And the same I thought was actually true. Young people, people under the age of 25, their overall safety is 62%, and folks over 65 have a 74% belief in safety, and the same is true downtown. Younger people feel less safe downtown than older people. So there's some things in there really get interesting as you get into the numbers, but I still have a lot more to process, and I've written down all these differences, but there's many. I was trying to write down every time that the difference was more than 20 points, and no one can see this, but I mean, in almost all of these, there's 15, 20 times that no matter how you sort them, there's some big differences in certain areas. So I still have to digest it, but there's a lot in there, so I hope people take a look at that. Okay, other commission items? Future agenda items?
I mean, I actually got a couple things.
Oh, go ahead.
Overall, just been thinking about the people of Ottawa recently. They've been hit with the tornado. They've had like a lot of bad weather. My definitely thoughts go out to, what's been going on down there. I was talking to Steve Cadu, who's a leader in the Indigenous community. I know we have a delegation that's going to D.C., and I hope that when we meet with our federal representatives that we advocate for the HNIU Improvement Act, specifically for Haskell. So I hope that comes up when you guys talk.
It's definitely on the list.
It's on the list.
And I wanted to thank Parks and Rec for installing a new playground at the Nature Center. It's fantastic. My kids loved it. So invite anybody in the community who has kids, come on down, give it a whirl. They even saved the turtle, which is fantastic. And then I had one question that I should have asked this a long time ago. It's a decorum question. I know we all address each other as commissioners or roles and stuff like that. When we address staff, should that be on a first name basis, last name? I was thinking about that this week, and I wasn't sure about the answer.
Think about it in a meeting?
Yeah.
Mr. City Manager, what do you think? I didn't say Greg, but Tony and
Most
Brandon.
high exalted, no. It's really has to do with just the tone that is set here. So there's some very formal meetings and communities. We work so closely together with all of you, so sometimes we catch ourselves in not saying, Mike or Amber, but we do try and show that decorum and respect. Sometimes it is very formal in some places, but this is Lawrence, Kansas, so I don't think anybody is offended if you use the first name. but many people do appreciate Mr. or Mrs. or whatever.
Okay.
The term city manager Owens, some people have used, that is not used anywhere, so.
Just call you CMO.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Often the chiefs, the chief of police, the fire chief, those are respectful terms that should be probably used.
Okay.
Okay, anything on the future agenda, any other items? Okay, how about City Manager Owens' report?
It's annoying one more time.
The first item on there is your regular utility billing report. And the second item is just a report to update you on our compliance with the lead service line replacement program and the way that that's done and the way that we're complying with that. Any questions on those two?
On the lead service line replacement, are we going to use social media to be able to send out that link so people can find out if their house still has a lead service line?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Sure.
Any other questions on those two items? If not, you have a third?
Then the final item is, and as I shared with the City Commission, this will be my last meeting. I'll run out my accumulated leave from May 1st through the first week of July. Since I announced my departure in November, our team has been working to prepare for this transition of the city manager, and the City Commission has initiated a search, and I understand that that's going well, and I appreciate that. The transition with the executive team and my partners behind me, Casey Toomey and Brandon McGuire, has gone very well. Casey Toomey has agreed to step up as acting city manager during my leave and until the new city manager assumes duties. And I hope you will just allow a little help from Kurt for a few words of gratitude and appreciation as I close.
Thanks for allowing me a few minutes of reflection and gratitude this evening. In running through these remarks earlier, I found that my voice box stops cooperating when I talk about those close to me, so I recorded this video that gets all my words out. I accepted the invitation to come to Lawrence with my family to do big things, challenging things, and work that was necessary, needed, and wanted. Things that my experience prepared me to do, but also things that created challenges I had not yet faced. Found it. I learned so much. I was pressed to new limits and passed in some cases. I have had some bruises along the way, and I have grown, things that often go together. That is life, and I am grateful to each of the chapters of my professional career, including the Lawrence chapter. My reflection on our achievements over the past 7 years, not one thing got done without our community, its elected leadership, and a dedicated professional staff. All the progress was also built on the progress of those that came before us, recognizing stewardship not just years or decades before, but centuries. Like all our work in the public realm, and stated so well in the Athenian Oath, we hope to move things forward during our time and hand off something better than what we were handed. Of the many things I learned since coming to Lawrence, I am further inspired by the native peoples of our community who generously shared with me an understanding of looking 7 generations into the future. Wiblaha. I'm also proud that we made significant progress with the big priorities I was asked to lead when I was hired. Those were to address the terrible condition of our infrastructure, bring fair wages, engagement and empowerment to our city team members, and to orient us beyond the year-to-year with strategic planning. There were several things that were thrust upon our city and became urgent and challenging priorities. I am as proud of that work as what I was brought here to initially do. These were the response to COVID-19, addressing our housing and homelessness crisis that was not unique to Lawrence, but which our community expected us to develop durable and effective remedies. We also yet again endured another chapter of painful reconciliation of our struggle with racial equality in the U.S. Our community, in its own unique way, worked through these persistent and complex concerns, and our city worked to respond uniquely to its community, and we still do. Lawrence rightfully cherishes and protects the rich diversity of its people. I've been honored to have learned and worked in imperfect allyship to recognize, protect, and defend the rights of all people, and especially those who have lived lives where they never felt welcomed or supported or for who they were, perhaps until Lawrence. I'm also very proud of the progress made in budget and finance. During my time, we overhauled our antiquated enterprise financial system, achieved and repeated GFOA's excellence in financial reporting, distinguished budget presentation, and popular annual financial reporting award, the Triple Crown. Our budget process has been highlighted in national publications for its innovation and engagement and served as a model to other cities. LDCFM renewed their international accreditation twice. The LKPD for the first time achieved CALIA accreditation and the new police accreditation in the state of Kansas. MSO for the first time achieved accreditation through the APWA and through the process actually established some national model policies. Now to some thanks. First, I want to thank my family for agreeing to the adventure to move to Lawrence. Make a new home, start a new school, make new friends, and for us, assemble new support services. I also want to thank them for what comes along with being a city manager and a city manager in Lawrence. Most of all, I want to thank my wife who understood what I meant when I simply said, I don't want to relive it, or it was just a very hard night. I know she understood and witnessed the toll of some of my public service was having. So many people in this room know firsthand exactly what I mean. It is a trauma I wish we didn't share, but I wish and hope that all of you have someone like Elizabeth to help you through your service and make sure you are seeing yourself. My sons Max and Charlie and Spencer have been my greatest teachers and have given me tools of empathy, patience, curiosity, and love that are necessary for this work. None of them have known me as anything but a city manager. Elizabeth too, actually, but she knew what she was getting into. I also want to thank my mother and father, Tim and Donna Owens. They both served on the city council for our hometown for many years. This meant I have been immersed in city government since I was in the 4th grade. I thank them for their example of public service and helping me understand in childhood what it takes to build community. Thanks to the many wonderful friends we have made in Lawrence. Thanks to my fellow civic leaders, including our unified Lawrence leadership team. Leadership is very difficult in this community, but made much easier in trusting, supportive, and honest relationships. Because this is likely my last stop as city manager after 33 years and 24 as city manager, I wanted to make a general comment of thanks for the many people who have supported and developed me through this career. My earliest professors and mentors, all of the teams I was honored to lead who do the most incredible things, especially Team Lawrence. Department directors who taught me about the complex work we do, the local elected officials I served with who demonstrated consistently how effective representative democracy works in the United States at the local level. And of course, a shout out to my colleagues in city management. I could not be more proud to be associated with the people that do this work. How lucky I have been to be a city manager. In parting, I love our state motto, ad astra per aspera. But I want to suggest to my fellow Kansans here in Lawrence that our motto is a commemoration of our past perseverance, not a prescription for how we should move together into the future. Be kind and patient with each other. Love is the very best ingredient to build community. Tonight I leave my post in Lawrence observing that much has changed and much has not. It is the same as it never was and ever will be. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Mayor and Commissioners, I just want to thank you and your predecessors for this unique opportunity. Thank you very much.
And Craig, I wanted to say a few things, and I didn't see that in advance, but I think as you hear what I put together, I think it really highlights what we've done together during these years. See if I don't break up. But, for those who don't remember, Craig started this journey July 1st, 2019, so he's leaving after almost 7 years as our city manager. We certainly don't have time to highlight everything Craig has accomplished during his time here, but let me name a few. Craig helped craft our strategic plan in 2020, where we adopted our 5 outcomes and our 6 commitments that have driven our work since that time, and certainly for the better. Craig, in the first 100 days of his tenure, really spent time learning the city, and one of the things he came out of that is we have lots of infrastructure work to do. Not only our roads, our streets, our sewers, but also as he toured every facility in which we had employees, he learned that we had a lot of work to do for our workforce in those locations. Since that time, we've undertaken work to repair infrastructure to create the lowest cost of ownership, such as completely rebuilding 23rd Street, Iowa Street, 6th Street, Bob Billings, Wakarusa Castle, just to name a few of the roads we've worked on. But also large projects such as the Jayhawk Watershed, the Car River Water Plant Project, the Transit Transfer Station, and of course our MSO campus, just to name a few. He helped shepherd the Downtown Master Plan, the Economic Development Strategic Plan, and the adoption of the new Development Code, all of which continue to shape, along with our strategic plan, the work we are doing now and for years to come. He have also led with the city and the county and joined together and helped us adopt the Place for Everyone plan, pass a homeless sales tax, and create the homeless division within our city. He also helped lead us through the trying times of COVID and all those lockdowns. He helped us implement the Unified Structure Command that helped us come out of those times and deal with the economic realities that have shaped our city since that time. On the employee front, he helped institute the competitive wage package for all our employees. He helped add 2 new employee unions, hired several of our new executive team. He led the turnaround of the finance department that have led to 5 or 6 years of clean audits. He created the budget team, the budget process that he mentioned, led the modernization of the key software platforms in finance, purchasing, and planning, all of which will continue to lead to efficiency and service across this community. He also spent great time working with our partners, including with the county and agreements such as the fire medical, but he also, for the first time, worked out agreements with KU on the Gateway Project and the Crossing Project, so that for the first time, KU is using their property in the middle of our city for private development, paying property taxes, and of course, increased sales taxes. He's helped lead this commission through restructuring all its committees, many difficult budget sessions, helped shape new and different commissions into teams working to make Lawrence a community where we all enjoy life and home. In short, I just want to thank Craig for all he's done for the city. We wish him luck and enjoy the world of consulting. Finally, I would say to the community, we look forward to having Casey Toomey be our acting city manager until we hire our new city manager. Based upon our current timelines, we hope maybe to select a new city manager by the end of May with a start date sometime in the summer. Obviously, that's all to be determined, but that's our current process, so stay tuned. And just appreciate all you've done. Okay, thank you so much for that. Any commission items?
It's a public comment.
Oh, that's true. The city manager's report is a public comment item. Good point. Who would like to make general public comment on the city manager's report?
Yeah, since it might be my last chance to do it, I guess, during the city manager report, I would just like to say congratulations to Craig and wish him good luck. I am disappointed, though, that you didn't tell anyone off during the city manager report, because this is your last night. You could have let it. I mean, you had angry comments directed at you, so this would have been your night to direct them back at us. And I would have been okay with it, because I probably have said some not nice things before. Not as mean as others, though, I would just like to point out. But good luck. Thank you.
Eric Hyde, you already know where I live, 66046. Craig Owens, I owe you an apology, especially to your children. So, I don't? Well, I think I caused you a bit of distress, at least. So, for whatever stress I caused you, here's how I realized this. I took my medication yesterday. It doesn't even have a druggy feeling to it. It just works with neurotransmitters with beta blockers. All of a sudden, my spirit started lifting because the stress went down. And I realized how wrong I've been about things. I'm 40 years old. I think it's pretty normal for somebody growing up and maturing, becoming a father and having a child. So, I just want to say that, you know, I sure have acted a mean hate towards you before. I've sent you angry messages, like arrogant messages, and that's not acceptable anymore for me. So I'm really sorry. I'm not gonna fake it. So, but I'm really sorry for what I did. And if there ever comes a time where you think, man, I really hate Eric Hyde, please forgive me. So, I think you've done way better than people give you credit, including me. So, I don't really like what happened with COVID, but that's just my own personal opinion. Actually, when I look at it now, I see that you were just trying to balance everybody's views out. And that's what I respect about it, because that was still going on during COVID. And I really appreciated that, even though some of the public was really extreme on both sides. But I told you I was gonna miss you, man. So I feel like you're a brother to me almost. So, like in the Bible or something. And my wife's name is Elizabeth. And I don't like calling her a lizard. I like calling her Elizabeth, because it's much better. It also means God is my oath. So that's what Elizabeth means. And a lot of people are like, oh, God. Well, it means all sorts of things. It's just the source of creation that you guys are part of too. So I really hope that we can learn our lesson from all the bad stuff that all of us have done, maybe including you and other people, but maybe you can come back. Why don't you just apply again? Maybe people love to see you come back and do it. Come on. I don't know. Well, thank you. Bye.
Any other public comment on the Commission City Manager's report?
Patrick Ross, 66049. I would be remiss to not, on behalf of the community, thank the most exalted city manager, Owens. I really enjoyed meeting with you in your office. It was a really special experience for me. First ever city manager I've ever met with in my life. So thank you for teaching me how you view your position. And I think it really course corrected how I view your leadership and the role in this community. And had I remembered that you were going to be calling it quits after this meeting, I would have written a poem for you, so I apologize. But at the very least, you helped contributing to arguably, I think, my favorite poem to date. So thank you very much, Mr. Owens, City Manager Owens. And don't be a stranger and keep coming back and maybe join us on the public comments. So thank you very much.
I don't know about that.
You have until July 6th for that poem, Patrick. So.
How about online? Any comments online?
I have one.
Okay.
Stephen Watts?
I don't know, did you announce me or not?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, excellent. Hey, Craig, how's it going, man? I contacted you prior to you coming to Lawrence. I'm going to do the same thing to the next old boy who's coming into town when they finally tell him his name. But I appreciate that when you first came here, you were more than willing to interact. And I appreciate that. I hope you take that into wherever you're going, and I appreciate your town here in Lawrence. What I don't appreciate is the fact that you brought corporate America to Lawrence, Kansas, in terms of administration purposes, and I do not believe that is what the University of Kansas taught you. On the other side of the coin, maybe it is. Irrespective, man, I mean, you're going to go on to big things and better things. What do we pay you? $300,000 a year, my friend. And here we continue to confront one issue after another. So, as you, and I don't blame you, I do not blame you from jumping from one Shinola to the next. And during your next course of professionalism, I know you are going to bring to it the same thing you brought to Lawrence, which is accountability and respectability. And hey, man, you're here in Lawrence and you're Lawrencian. Thank you.
That's all the comments there.
Okay, thank you for that. Calendar items, any calendar items before we open it to public comment? Okay, we'll now do